Welcome inside the YourTV studio for the YourTV Your Vote. I will be your host and moderator for this evening's debate. My name is Clarke Heipel. Tonight we have an hour-and-a-half program scheduled for you. The structure of said program and debate will be an hour-and-a-half long with opening remarks, which will be a minute. We have response to each question that we have for the candidates, length of 2 minutes, and then it'll be open for a healthy debate. And at the end of the program, we'll have 3 minutes of closing remarks. Tonight, this is to help you get educated for Monday, October 24th, when you head to the polls to vote for mayoral candidates, as well as council candidates and school board trustees. This evening, we have the 3 mayoral candidates in our studio. And before the program, we had a random draw to select podium position. And on your left of your screen, Johanne Brousseau, mayoral candidate. In the center is Leslie McVeety, mayoral candidate. And on your right is Peter Chirico, rounding out the 3 candidates for this evening. And we're going to be starting on the left with Miss Brousseau. I will read her bio and then she will have a chance for her opening remarks. Johanne Brousseau. Johanne has lived in North Bay for 60 years. She was raised by blue-collar parents who instilled strong work ethics, integrity, commitment, and reliability. She has devoted 50-plus years of volunteerism and board experience. With a 37-year career in the sewing industry as a pattern maker, business owner, and national sewing educator. She is currently a city councillor. In her spare time, she enjoys swimming, spending time with family, and taking advantage of all that our city has to offer. Johanne, you have a minute for your opening remarks.
Good evening, Annie, bonsoir. Thank you for this opportunity this evening. Merci de me fournir l'occasion de partager mes idées avec vous ce soir. As the only candidate for mayor with an accomplished 22-year successful career as a business owner and operator, I'm bringing the qualities of leadership, a winning attitude, and a business acumen to the office of mayor. My main product supplier ranked my business, Creation Unique, consecutively in the top 12 in Canada, only to be surpassed in 2001 by being ranked #1 in the world. I understand the challenges that businesses owners face each day and the support they require to contribute to the economic sustainability of our community. We have heard repeatedly that North Bay needs a new direction. New direction needs new and fresh leadership, and I, Johanne Brousseau, represent the type of leadership that citizens of North Bay need. Thank you. Merci, miigwech.
Thank you, Johanne. At the center podium is Leslie McVeety, and her biography reads as follows. Leslie moved to North Bay when she was 14. She bought a house with her sister in 2007. Leslie graduated from Canadore in 2017 and has been working as a personal support worker in home care. She grew up in a musical family, so music has always been an important part of her life. Leslie's family is very important to her, and one of her favorite things to do is to hang out with her niece and nephew, Mia and Aiden. Leslie, you have a minute for your opening remarks.
Thank you very much for having me tonight. I am running for mayor because North Bay is really not in a good state right now. I have no political experience. I do have life experience, and like many other people in our city, I have been directly affected by this downward spiral. I have the desire to help people. I believe everyone should be able to feel safe in their own homes, and I believe everyone should have the comfort of having a roof over their head. We need to come together as a community to make North Bay a place we're proud to call home. Thank you.
Thank you, Leslie. And our third mayoral candidate is Peter Chirico. Peter Chirico has been serving his home community of North Bay in one way or another for more than 25 years. Peter is an avid and engaged volunteer, a member of numerous agencies, boards, and committees, and president of Chamber of Commerce. Peter has been involved in initiatives designed to make North Bay a better place to live and play. He loves spending time with his wife Peggy, his children Mike, Jay, and Tara, their 6 grandchildren, and playing golf with family and friends. Peter, you have a minute for your opening remarks.
Thanks very much, Clarke, and good evening. And thank you for having us all here tonight. I'm pleased to be here and look forward to talking about the issues that everyone is talking about. I decided to run for mayor for a very selfish reason. My children, my grandchildren. I want them to live here. And I also want your children and your grandchildren to live here as well. So first off, I want to say thank you to my wife Peggy and to our kids and grandkids for all your love, encouragement, and support. I wouldn't nor couldn't be doing this without you. For the past 25 years, I've been involved in local politics and local initiatives, and I'm very proud of my record of service to this community. If North Bay was on the right track, I would be planning my retirement. But I believe, like many of you do, our community could be so much better. There's lots of work to do to make North Bay that community we can all be proud of once again. And I have some thoughts on how we can get there. On October 24th, please consider casting your ballot for me, Peter Chirico. I'm ready for the job and I won't let you down.
Thank you for that. So that brings us to the beginning of our debate. I have mutually agreed upon with the candidates by going on a first name basis. So if we need to keep within time, I will be cutting you off if needed be. So our first question is via a video question. We'll play that now.
Hi there, I'm Dennis Chippa, the Executive Director of the Gathering Place, North Bay's Community Soup Kitchen and Food Distribution Center. I guess the question I'd like to ask the candidates at this time is, the city has long said homelessness and homeless encampments and the problems of homelessness are not a city problem. They're a DSAP problem. But my understanding is if there's a lot of garbage on the street, that becomes a city problem because it's city crews that have to clean it up. If there's a lot of damage and needles and garbage and things like that in our parks, city employees have to clean that park up. When police are called to an encampment, it's the city police that have to respond, and all of those come out of our tax base. So I guess my question would be, do the mayoral candidates have a plan to be more engaged as a city in the problem of homelessness and work a little closer with the District and Nipissing Social Service Administration Board in recognizing that homelessness is a city problem?
And that is Dennis Chippa from the Gathering Place with his question. We'll start with Joanne with her 2-minute response.
Thank you for that question. Yes, we do realize that we have external forces that are creating more work for our city workers, but we live here and we need to take care of it. One of the things that I've learned during this campaign is that we need to advocate strongly for all levels of government to come together and help us with this. I can say that I'm currently in discussions with medical professionals who have developed successful strategies relating to these areas. We will encourage them to share their best practices with local social agencies and community partners. We need to work as a group. We need to collaborate for this, and no one agency can do it alone. So it needs to be a really strong partnership between all services at North Bay.
Thank you, Joanne. And Leslie, you have up to 2 minutes for this question.
Okay. I do believe that we need to be more engaged as well. It's a citywide problem. We also need help from other levels of government, like Joanne has said. We can't do it alone, but if the city comes together with social workers, with nurses, with drug and alcohol counselors, we can maybe come up with a plan to help the homeless population. Maybe even having the low barrier shelter run 24 hours and provide these services to get the mental health counseling, to get addictions counseling, to get meals, life skills. I think a 24-hour thing would be really beneficial, especially in the winter. I spoke with a homeless advocate last week, and he has a whole business plan worked out to make cheap homes that are available. And his business plan says they can build 10 to 20 homes for under $250,000. I think that's where we need to start.
Thank you, Leslie. And Peter, you have up to 2 minutes.
Thank you for the question. Dennis addresses a couple of problems that we're seeing, and we've seen only increase in problems over the past 4 years, and it's not working what we have presently. It's not just a DSAB problem, it's a City of North Bay problem. It's our community problem. and that we have to address that. When we take a look at the housing crisis and the homelessness issue, we have to work, as both of my other colleagues have said tonight, that we have to work with the other levels of government. But we have to rally those levels of government. And also we have to find out what is best practice. What is best practice out there? There's a lot of different agencies in the city right now that are focused on this issue of homelessness. But it hasn't changed. It's only got worse. And I've seen it from standing and sitting on Main Street in my office and watching it day in and day out. So what we need is a strong plan to be able to address that. We need the research. We need to engage our university and our college to get the research of what is that best practice out there, and to be able to form a plan that we can follow. Every one of the groups that are doing what they're doing right now, they're all meaning well, but there's no solid plan in place, and that's what I will bring to the table. I will engage the professionals that we need, the people that are much more educated than I am and have a lot more experience, and we'll make that plan and we'll follow that plan, because the one currently is not working whatsoever.
And the floor is open for candidates to jump in.
Okay, I would just add to that there is a great report out there, the Northern Policy Institute, that talks about homelessness and mental health and addiction throughout Northern Ontario, and it's a great read. The other plan that we have, mandated by the Police Act, is the Community Safety Wellbeing Plan. And the city has hired a Community Safety and Wellbeing coordinator to make sure, and to work with this plan, to make sure that all agencies come in and help out, and that we eliminate silos and we create bridges within these agencies, and that we follow one plan. That is starting to work. I do know that we are maybe 6 months ahead of Timmins, and Timmins is starting to see change. You can't see change overnight. This didn't happen overnight, and it's going to take a while. We'll gradually see change, but it might take 2-3 years before we actually see change.
Peter?
This isn't a new issue, Councillor Brousseau. This is an issue that has been happening for the last 5-7 years, and it's been exacerbated by COVID-19. There is absolutely no doubt that. The Northern Policy Institute out of Sudbury certainly does, yes they're out of Sudbury, don't shake your head, they're out of Sudbury, and they did the study across the north. And they identified many problems that each one of our communities have had. But we haven't seen a solid plan that has addressed this. We still see people on the streets. We see people that are, encampments throughout our city, and we haven't addressed those issues on that. I'm not an expert on it, but I can tell you what we're doing right now is not working. We have to address the key issues and those early issues about why they're there. Is it mental health? Is it drug addiction? What is the reasons behind that? And we haven't done that. We don't know what those issues are, and that's why we need to get the proper research and best practices, not just from Northern Ontario, because that's where the problem is happening right now for these, and the Northern Policy Institute. We have experts out there. We have them in our community that we can utilize, and we can take their experience and put it into practical applications, because it hasn't gotten better. And it's been around here for a lot longer than 4 years.
And Leslie, I know you've commented on this issue during prior interviews. Do you have anything to add?
I think we should follow the model that Medicine Hat is doing. They have almost completely eradicated homelessness in that city. They look at the person as a whole. They get their name. They track them. That way, if the police have them, they know to who to contact. If they're taken into the hospital, they know who to contact. And because of this, and again, it did not happen overnight, they were able to better help them, get them off the street. And I think we need to look at that and follow that.
And do any of the other candidates have an example of another city that's doing it right?
I talked about a medical professional, and this medical professional is actually now in Ontario, originally in Manitoba, and done great work in Thompson, Manitoba. She is now in Ontario, and she will start working in North Bay, hopefully, and sharing her medical expertise, a medical addiction expert. And we will, I've had a meeting with her last week, and I was very impressed. As someone who doesn't really know much about social services, she did explain a lot of stuff, and I will happily one day welcome her to North Bay.
We're going to shift to our next question. This question is submitted via email by a YourTV viewer. The viewer writes, I moved to North Bay 8 years ago. I am a successful retail manager. I have seen a steady increase in the amount of locations of needles and drug paraphernalia everywhere. I enjoy walking the Kinsman Trail, especially early in the morning. Now I feel very reluctant to do so. What is your position on the state of the city and a high rate of addicts on the streets? Do you support a safe injection site? So this is a two-part question. Leslie, we'll start with you this time.
Sure. Okay, so the two-part question. I fully believe in the needle exchange program I realize we have something now, but it's not working. We need 100% needle exchange program so we can get those needles off the trails, off the streets, off the beaches. And as far as the safe injection site, I do think it's a great idea. It is Timmins, you said, right? You said Timmins?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Timmins has the safe injection site. It is early, but the RC is seeing some promising results. Sudbury has just opened one. Let's see how that goes, and if it's working for them, why won't it work for us?
Peter, floor is yours.
And at the doors, when we're talking to people, this question isn't uncommon that's being asked at the door. When we look at, the problem with drug addictions, the opioid, it's a very, very complicated issue that I certainly don't have the expertise to tackle. But what I do is look at the experts and what they say are the best practices. Safe injection site. I believe that safe injection site, yes, but the location is key. Where is that going to be located? And I think that that's where the community has to be. I know that there was an article that came out of the DSAB a couple of months ago that they were talking about the transition house on Chippewa, which was retracted very shortly thereafter because that's not the place for a safe injection site in between senior citizens housing and also right across from a high school. That is not the place for it. So yes, I think that is needed. Yes, I think it can help. The health professionals who have studied this and said this will help, the jury's still out on that. We don't know. But we've got to change what we're doing right now. It's not working. We're seeing people's safety issues. When we talk about needles on beaches, we talk about all of those. And that's where I think that we have to change the culture of the city. When I say that we have to rebuild each part of this community, neighborhood by neighborhood, to make it clean, to make it safe, to make it a place that we're proud of once again. And that includes city staff, that it's a problem right across the board. So it's not their department, it's not this department, it's not this department, it's the entire city that we have to engage in focusing on getting this cleaned up so that our residents, and your firsthand knowledge on this, Leslie.
5 seconds.
Firsthand knowledge. We have to do a better job than what we're doing.
Yes.
Thank you, Peter. Joanne, you have up to 2 minutes.
Yes, I'm quite aware of all the syringes that are left behind because as a volunteer of Clean Green Beautiful, we do pick up a lot. I do understand why the health unit is giving them away, but there are still a lot that aren't disposed of properly, and that is a concern for me, but we can't just go out there, all of us, and go pick them up. And I do believe a safe injection site is a way to, I'm for it, and yes, Peter, we need to discuss which location is going to be at and how it would affect that neighborhood. But what we also need is that safe injection site is not just for injecting drugs, it's also the opportunity for social workers to talk to that individual, to make them feel welcome, make them feel part of the community, and maybe one day when they ask, is today the day that you're going to go to an addiction center and we'll do something about this? One day they may say yes, and that's how we're going to help them and put them in a safer environment and control their addiction.
The floor is open, and don't need to ask for permission, just jump in with your comments.
Those valid points, but the same thing is happening again. Nothing is being done about it. We have 29 different agencies in the city that are all out like this. No focus plan, and you talk about the wellness and safety plan that the city has put in. That's excellent. That is absolutely wonderful. But how is that being communicated to the citizens of North Bay? If you ask at the doorstep, they don't know about it. They don't hear about it. They don't see it. They don't see the tangible results that is going to be doing. What they see is the problems in their neighborhood. They see the problems day in and day out, and especially downtown. I've said that enough and I won't refer back to it, but that problem has just gotten bigger, bigger, bigger. And how do we change that? Well, it's that culture change that we have to do in the city. The culture change to make and reinvent our downtown, to reimagine what that can be, a people place, and to be able to make sure that those people that need the help the most, that they have the services available, and there's a focus plan on how we're going to tackle this problem, because it's not working.
And the homelessness and addictions also tied into the same conversation quite often, and you mentioned Chippewa Street. Is the low barrier shelter a good spot to have it on Chippewa Street across from the high school?
My view is no.
No.
No, I don't believe it was, and I don't believe it was well thought out when it was put in there. I know that it's well-meaning and transition house, but across from a high school, in between two senior citizens, and daycare. My grandchildren go to school at the end of the road, at the French school at the end of the road, where the overpass is. There's people sleeping in that overpass night after night from that transition house. So do I think that that's the proper? Absolutely not. I would much rather see our dollars, our tax dollars, that are funded by the DSAB and through our contribution to it, I would rather see that located in a better place, that it doesn't have those seniors, and high school. We're exposing our kids to that. My grandkids, I don't feel safe. I don't know how anybody else can feel safe. I would rather see that transition house be changed into seniors affordable housing, which we are in desperate need in this city for those types of issues. And that is why I think that this is the wrong location, the wrong time, and the wrong place.
If you wish to jump in, Joanne, go ahead.
Yes. I wasn't on the board when the decision was made. There were 6 councillors on that board.
I didn't say you were on
the
board.
No. I'm just... And for whatever reason, I also don't agree with that location, but then I don't know what other choices they had. Let's go back to the Community Safety and Wellbeing Plan. We do have over 50 recommendations at the end of that report, and they're starting to implement them. We have to be patient. It didn't happen overnight, and it's not going to be overnight that we're going to fix it. Remember that North Bay does not have, the City of North Bay does not have a social service department. So everything is filtered from the government to DSAB to social agencies. We live in it, and we get the burden, and we have to take care of it, and we have more pressure on our firefighters, on all our frontliners, and also all our maintenance staff that have to clean this up. But meanwhile, we're going to have to be patient and wait a year or two before things start to happen. The other thing you have to remember is these individuals have rights. And if they don't want to get help, we don't have to force them to get help.
Leslie, can we afford a year to wait for this to start working?
Absolutely not. We need action now. It might take a year for everything to come together, but we need to start working on it today. And just back to where the location is, there was an overdose in front of the high school a couple weeks ago. Yeah. I don't have kids, but I would not want my child subject to that. And I mean, I realize overdoses can happen anywhere, but with that shelter being there, that just adds to it. And it's just not a good location for it.
We're going to move on to our next question. The coronavirus pandemic has brought about many challenges over the last 2 years. Cities have had to lay off staff in order to save taxpayer money. In North Bay, the decision was made not to lay anyone off while the level of services was less than pre-pandemic times. An example of this would be the arenas that were not being used to the same capacity. Meanwhile, the City of North Bay's taxes have increased significantly every year. People are feeling financial pressures like never before. If elected, how would you make sure that the taxpayers are getting the most out of their money? Will you commit to a 0% tax increase until inflationary pressures go down? Peter?
Thanks for the question. COVID-19 certainly put everybody on their heels. There's absolutely no doubt of that. What happened during that time is, and I remember it quite clearly, that council at the time, at the beginning, when the emergency measures were put in by the province, they allowed councils to override collective agreements, to be able to do just that, to manage their budgets, manage their staff, manage such as arena staffs that we know for 3 years nobody was in them, or relatively speaking, nobody was in them. But it didn't happen. No layoffs were done. And I'm sure that that's great for morale and that's great for all of these, but for the taxpayers that had to pay that during that time, the taxpayers that are seeing those ever-increasing percentage increases year over year, and I'm one of them, you're one of them, you're one of them, but we continue to see those tax increases come on. And we didn't see any relief during that period. We saw no relief whatsoever. And council did not make those tough decisions at that time. And those tough decisions, although they're very controversial and they're not popular with workers and so on and so forth, those are the decisions that should have been made at the time. I don't want to look back on this, but and certainly the second part of the question, would I commit to a 0% tax increase? Not on your life. That is not going to happen. We cannot expect, especially in the first year. But what we can do is we can manage what we have. And that's what we have. The financial plan that is being followed by the city was put in place by Brian Rogers and myself in 2005. It's been tweaked a couple of times. You've tweaked it. Councils before you have tweaked it. But it's the same plan. It has not changed. It continues to be the same thing. And if you continue to do the same thing over and over again, how do you expect different results? It doesn't work. So 0%, I'm not going to commit to 0% tax increase, especially taking over.
Joanne?
I just want to say that no full-time union staff was not laid off, but we did have seasonal staff that were not rehired for their seasonal positions. But if Peter was talking about the arenas, those staff members were deployed to other areas of the city and other jobs. I'm glad, I was going to point out, the zero tax increase is actually going backwards. It's like a negative, and I'm sure Peter could talk about, because I believe probably at one point or the beginning of your political career, there was a series of years that it was zero tax increase, and then when Mayor Fideli came in, if I'm right, we had to catch up on.
No, you're totally incorrect on that. You're totally incorrect.
We had
on
to
that.
catch up because our reserves were down, and we needed to build up the reserves again. And our capital projects, we didn't have enough money allocated for that 10-year capital project plan budget.
Yeah,
We'll
I
get back
just
to
want
you,
to
Peter.
respond.
We'll let Leslie respond to the question first.
I'm glad that no one lost their job during COVID, because nobody wants to see someone lose their job. But there were federal COVID relief programs that wouldn't have cost North Bay any tax money. If I'm not working at my job, if I'm not able to work at my job, I'm going to be laid off. I mean, it's a crappy situation, but that's what has to happen sometimes. As far as the 0% increase, no, we can't. We don't know what these new programs coming in are going to cost, but they definitely need to happen. What we do need to do is cut down on any unnecessary spending. We need to do an audit of that and make sure that everything that is being spent is necessary.
And it's open for debate. Peter, you said that Joanne was
Absolutely.
totally incorrect, if you wanted to pick it up there.
Totally incorrect on the assumption that it was 0% tax increases before. It wasn't 0% tax increases before that. What we did is, because the city of North Bay at the time had the lowest reserves in the province of Ontario, the lowest reserves in the province of Ontario, we couldn't fix our streets. We couldn't spend anything because we didn't. We did enact tax increases. Mm-hmm. We did, and we followed through with those. And we increased the pay-as-you-go portion, which has been played with over the last 6-7 years and adjusted and worked on, but it has not changed that plan. I see right now that we have somewhere in the neighborhood unrestricted assets plus of $50 million, over $50 million in that, from $6 million that we did. So the plan worked, but it wasn't adjusted. And that's the key when we take a look at this, that when we look at 0%,
Joanne,
and that is why I'm calling that we're going to do within the first year, if I'm elected as the mayor of this city, that we will look at a third-party independent review of all city services. You cannot manage what you can't measure. And right now we can't. I know in the last debate you referred to that we did an audit of one department, the IT department. Well, it's going to take 10 years if we do one at a year. That's why I'm saying we must do it right away. And an independent review, not internally. And that is what I'm committing to do.
So you're willing to say to the taxpayers of today, be prepared. By doing a 12-month all-department review, you're going to raise the tax by 1.5% to 2% just to do that.
No, we're going to control spending is what we're going to do, which hasn't been done.
You're going to spend on this review, and yet I did mention that IS review mentioned that the department was short-staffed and we needed to invest in more hardware. So don't necessarily think that you're going to save money by doing reviews.
So can you have it both ways? Can you have it both ways, that we'll save money, but we have to spend money to do that? That's exactly what I'm saying. We are going to have to invest in knowing where we are, because right now we don't. We don't, and we don't see it. And that's evident by exactly what we're talking about right now. And it's not something that is foreign to it. You know, as a business person, it's not a foreign concept. It absolutely isn't a foreign concept. And my experience in the financial world for 35 years as a commercial banker, that taught me that you have to be able to manage. And the only way you can manage is to measure it and know where you are. We don't know what we're doing right. We don't know what we're doing wrong. We hope that we're doing most things right, and I'm sure we are doing most things right. But I'm sure there's a lot of things that we can change that are going to make it a better thing.
Every year we have a budget, an operating budget and a capital budget, and we stay on track with those, and we have a 10-year plan of what needs to be fixed, what needs to be done, and what new amenities we'd like to have. So it is controlled, it is measured by finance, and it is also overseen by the senior management team.
It's controlled and measured by finance, but we set the direction as council and mayor. And right now, that direction isn't being followed. It is not being followed. When we look at every year, those tax increases increase. And there's no relief at that. But we see also reserves increasing, and we're building reserves, which is great. Don't get me wrong, that's really great. But building reserves means you're overtaxing. That's our money. That's our money that's going in there. And then when we talk about spending, and we talk about, you know, for instance, the new arena that's being talked about right now. And I know, you know, the comment's going to come back that it's all accounted for.
We will be getting to the arena.
It's all accounted for.
Leslie, I'd like you to jump in here. Are you satisfied with how the city's being run fiscally?
I don't know enough about what everything is being spent on. So yeah, that is definitely something I would need to look into.
Reserves are good. They're for rainy days. I have a rainy day account personally at home. And a few years ago when we had an extreme amount of snow that year, we were really happy. The road budget was $1 million deficit. We were really happy that we had $1 million in reserves, so it did not affect our tax rates the following year.
But most of the taxpayers out there don't have that savings account. They're living hand to mouth, paycheck to paycheck, and they don't have that. So that is what I'm saying, that the fiscal responsibility and the transparency that we need to bring to our fiscal budgets. As budget chief for 9 years, I brought in some pretty tough budgets.
I know.
Some large increases.
And for a guy who knew his budget.
Because of the fact that we didn't have any reserves. We weren't spending any money on capital. Our infrastructure was falling down everywhere. We knew that. That is why. And I never campaigned on a 0% tax increase. No. Not once did I ever campaign on that. I said we have to reinvest in that. We've done that. Now we need a new plan. And there hasn't been a new plan.
Candidates, I appreciate the healthy debate. We need to head to a break. Do stay tuned to the debate. We will be back with the 3 mayoral candidates for North Bay after a few moments. Welcome back to Your TV's Your Vote. This is the North Bay mayoral debate. We go now to a video question from a North Bay resident.
Hi, I'm Kevin Ferris, North Bay resident. I would like to know if the candidates would be open to inviting Acting Integrity Commissioner George Vallon to present to Council, unfiltered, about his report and his recommendations to improve the city's code of conduct.
Now, Joanne, we're going to start with you on this one. You did vote against having Justice Vallon appear at North Bay City Council. Can you explain your reasoning for this?
It was about the wording of the motion. Both for transparency, Mr. Vallon's reports are online on the city website, and so is the solicitor's report. In the next council, if the next council wishes to invite Mr. Vallon to present, I have no objections. It is, I do know that we have the letter or the invitation that was sent to him will be published probably tomorrow or later on today, and there were no restrictions put on his invitation. But I have no issues with that.
Okay. Leslie?
I am all for inviting him to come and speak. We all need to work together as a community to make this a better place to live.
Peter?
Yes, I would invite Justice Vallon to come and talk about the code of conduct. I find it, this last council that was looked at and voted on by a number of journalists as the most secretive and non-transparent council that they have. It was voted on. It isn't, I'm not making this up, it was front page news right across this country. And I find that a very big problem. I find that when we take a look at, unless it's restricted access to documents due to three things: legal, human resources, or real estate. Those are the only three things. And why aren't we sharing? And why aren't we? And you yourself, you say that it was the wording of the invitation to Judge Vallon. Whether it's wording, come and visit, come and talk to us about the code of conduct. Come and talk to us about the or the lack of transparency, the lack of openness, the FOI requests. The FOI requests that are flowing through each and every day. How much is that costing us as a municipality? And I understand that there's certain areas that are going to be restricted due to Provincial Municipal Act. But other than those three items that we're talking about, those are the only things that should be closed and talked about. And then once there's a resolution to them, they come out into open council. That's procedural bylaw. We all know that. You know that. The members of the public know that. But they still are saying the openness and transparency has been terrible. It has been, that's one of the number one at the doors that I'm hearing. Are we going to change that? And yes, I am. If I'm elected as mayor, it will be open. It will be transparent. And we will make those issues that are front and center for each and every one of you, yourself, myself. Those are the things. It hasn't happened in the past.
Aside from having Justice Vallon appear, what are some tangible things that can be done right away to improve transparency? The floor is open.
Immediately, let's make sure that the information that council has is also shared with the public. I'm not sure if you've been on the website for the City of North Bay and trying to find documents on the website. It's probably one of the most convoluted websites that I've seen. We need to modernize that. We need to make it accessible for each and every, and it's not right now. I've looked and researching information for my run at this. I've had to, literally, and I know the system, and I know where they might be located, and I can't find them.
Other candidates can jump in anytime.
So you're saying that everything is discussed in camera should come out of it after?
At some point in time, with the exception that it's HR and legal.
Right.
That's as simple as that gets.
And a lot
And
of
that's
things
not coming
are
out right now, Councillor Brousseau.
What are you talking about? What I
How
want
can
to
you
say,
be voted the most secretive council? How can you be voted that
we'll talk
without
about,
those?
We'll talk about transparency. Information is accessible, and if you have problems navigating the website, we have a communication officer that will send you the link. Thanks to the late Councillor Mike Anthony, All council meetings are streamed live and available to view at any time at the city's YouTube page. All Freedom of Information requests have a regulated process determined by the provincial government and must be followed by the staff prior to sharing that information.
That's great about the FOI request.
Yes.
That's great that they have to utilize that system. But why did we have to enact that an FOI has to be requested?
Yes.
Why do we have to act on that?
Because
why can't we share that information?
Because we need to protect the personal information of that third party.
The personal
Their
information.
email address, their name sometimes needs to be erased because they don't want people to know. So we have to contact them first, and then go with them.
That's a process for the FOI.
Yes.
But that doesn't excuse the fact that the information is not being provided. You talk about Councillor Anthony and making sure that everything was communicated and we have live streams and all that. Well, the same council has cut down their council meetings. You meet once every 2 weeks.
Yes.
Absolutely. I say, let's get back to the old Monday night. Let's get down there. Let's have people that they want. Restrictions? I mean, you know, you have to outline exactly what you have to say. You have to present in such a manner. You have to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's so many steps in it that it makes it uncomfortable for somebody like yourself to come to council. That you have to have a prepared book. What happened to the days of listening to the constituents? What happened to that day? It's not happening right now. It's closed off, it's not transparent, and it's got to change.
Having council meetings every 2 weeks is a trend across Ontario. There were many times when it was a weekly meeting that you would meet for 1 or 2 motions and that was it. So it makes it more worthwhile. We have to keep the staff there. It makes it more worthwhile and more efficient for our time that our meetings are about half an hour to an hour. For people, again, we were one of the last communities to give a 5-minute just pop in and talk to us. It needed to be constructed.
But that's not correct.
But
they
can
don't
still,
have that.
No, they don't.
have
I
that
just said
ability.
we've changed that, but you can come in for 10 minutes and you can talk on
Every
whatever
2 weeks,
subject. Every
during
2
a
weeks.
little
But you know
based
what?
on what
I'm
it is.
accessible. All 10 councillors are accessible. Most of the citizens talk to us personally, and then we talk to staff and we bring back information to them.
Then please tell me why there has been such an uproar in our community. Please tell me and explain to me, because I'm at a loss on that. When it's voted by journalists that it's the most secret and non-transparent council across the country. I didn't make that up.
No, but
And I didn't.
no.
That is what is published. That is what is fact. So by saying that it's open and it's transparent, it's not open and transparent. It's not. We have to restore that. And we have to restore that public trust in what we do each and every day. And it has not been done over the past 4 years.
Public trust, we lost a while back with the Memorial Garden renovation. Okay? Transparency, I said we do have it. You have the YouTube. Maybe we need to improve on two-way communication. We need to educate the public on how to access our websites and how to either communicate with a communication officer and have assistance there. Maybe we need to do a little course on how to navigate the website, or maybe we need to improve it and make it that much easier.
Peter, Joanne brought up the
we are
Memorial Gardens
improving.
renovation, certainly several years ago, but you wanted to respond to that being brought up?
It was 9 years ago. That was 9 years ago. This item has been rehashed and rehashed to ad nauseum. And yes, we know. And if you look at the KPMG report, we know that whole project was fraught with problems. And I took responsibility for those problems. But let's
But
just
the
read.
KPMG report is confidential.
No, it wasn't confidential. It was discussed in council. It was put in front of council. Oscar Poloni sat in front of council in 2013 and relayed. So it wasn't confidential. It was nowhere near confidential. That was out in the public. I lived it. I know it.
Yes.
I know exactly what happened.
Okay.
I know exactly where you talk about public trust was lost.
We're going to go to the next question.
No, I'd just like to finish this
Quickly.
off. Very quickly on that. That project today, when we look at it And when we look back on that and the problems that were associated with it, which I took responsibility for. But let's remember one thing. I was a staff member. I had bosses. Council, not myself, as you laid out in your comments to Sports North Bay, that I wanted the OHL. No. Let's correct this. Let's correct this right now for the last time. Council brought that forward. Council brought forward the battalion agreement. Council approved both of those. So let's not mince words on that. I didn't write checks on this process. So just remember that.
Here's the next question. How do you feel about elected officials having to reveal all of the property they own in the city of North Bay prior to running for office? This would help with transparency when it comes to declaring conflicts of interest. Leslie, the floor is yours.
I think that's a great idea. I only own one house. I really have nothing else to declare on that. But I do think that's, if we want to, announce that we're being transparent, it's a good way to start.
Peter?
Listen, as far as disclosing your assets, I have a house. I don't have any outside business interests. I have nothing outside of my home that I live in. I work for a living, just like everybody here. We've all worked for a living. I don't see any issues with disclosing what those assets are so that people can see that, if you're doing this, you're doing that, you're doing whatever. But I can assure the public, I don't have any outside assets, any other business interests outside of this. And on that note, when we take a look at, living in North Bay and running in North Bay, I do believe that somehow, I know that the Municipal Act says that if you have an address in North Bay, if you are attached to that, but I believe that our mayor, our councillors should all live within the city limits of the city of North Bay.
Joanne?
I have no problems declare conflicts of interest ahead of time. I'm co-owner of a home, and I have a mother who is 94 years old and does not work. I have two brothers that are in their 75s. They also don't work, and and I have no children. So that would consider all my conflicts according to the Municipal Act, and I have no qualms in saying living in North Bay would be nice.
Okay.
For all elected.
We're going to move on to our next video question. Arenas was brought up recently. Here is a question from a member of the public.
Hi, my name's Linda Turcott, and I'm here on behalf of Heather Chambers and Sport North Bay. My question to candidates is the build of the multi-use facility at O'Michelle Field. With the investment of over $2 million already in this facility with architects, engineers, and drawings, and plus our most recent grant from the federal government of $25.5 million, question to the candidates, being mindful of the aging facilities and the city financial obligations to date, how will you ensure that the multi-use facility project remains on path to success?
Peter?
I've stated publicly, I'm not in favor of the location. I think there's a better way that we can do this. I think there's a better way that we can use the existing infrastructure that we have in our community to make it right. We know West Ferris Arena, double rinks, those are past their best before date by a lot of years. We know that we need additional ice pads, and I'm committing that we will have another ice pad, but I'm not saying at that location. I think when we look at it, and it's interesting to note that we talk about the $25.5 million from the feds to make it a green project, and it must be spent on that. Well, today and right now, with inflation the way it is, interest rate hikes, since that project was first thought of, interest rates gone up by almost 5.5 points. 5.5 points on that. That's not a good place for us to be starting from and to be putting that project out there and going out for tender. On top of that, when we take a look at supply chain problems, getting steel, getting concrete, our home builders can't even get concrete. They're waiting a 2 to 3 month wait on that. And I get that the $25.5 million is a gift. It's a gift from the federal government to make our project green. But we still don't know exactly what that's going to cost to be able to meet those criteria on that. And what is that going to, is it going to be $52 million that we talked about? Is it going to be $75 million? Is it going to be $90 million? When we look to some of the communities around us, such as Sudbury thought they were going to be able to build this for $120 million. guess what? Came in at $210 million when they looked at it and when we have these supply chain issues.
Over
and
to
now
Joanne.
inflation on that.
Go ahead, Joanne.
Okay. Yes, the federal funding is $25.77 million. And yes, the price that was put in on that application was $52 million for it. We already have $9 million set aside for it, so it would be like a $17 million loan. I am in the end, the tendering process is about to start. Once the contractors come out with the figures, I'm always in the mode, I'm not going to speculate, I'm not going to make decisions before I receive data. Once the data is given to council, probably in January, to say this is the cost of the building, then let's make a decision. Let's not speculate now.
But let's talk about
Peter, before you jump in, it's Leslie.
Sorry, Leslie, I apologize.
I agree the location is kind of out of the way for pretty much everybody in North Bay. I also agree that we need new arenas being built, but why not build them on the existing property of West Ferris Arena and double rinks? I don't think North Bay can afford this right now. There are a lot of other things that money could go to. Our taxes are going to go up. Everyone's talking about not wanting to raise their taxes. How much is this going to cost us in the long run?
We do know that we need to replace these. And I'm committed to replacing them because we're spending way too much money on maintaining these facilities that are not utilized properly. Because of, when I talk about not utilized properly, I talk about the fact that we can't attract tournaments here. We can't attract national tournaments to Memorial Gardens because we don't have that extra infrastructure in place, being a full-size OHL or NHL ice pad. We don't have that. When we look at, some of the successes we've had, and I'll go back to Memorial Gardens, some of the successes that we've had and the income that's been generated not only by the OHL, Women's World Curling, huge success. Pinties, not just once, but they're coming back next week. And it's going to be a huge success. It's a great rallying point. But in order to get to that next level, we're going to have to do something at Memorial Gardens at some point in time. Is it the right time right now to do it? Is it the right time to put in that? I don't know. But that will be a decision of council that needs to be addressed. But I do not believe that that location is the right location.
The one thing about this has been talked about for 10 years. A lot of talk. And as far as I'm concerned, this should have been ready like by 2018 when the price was only $28 million. The reason why it is not at, you said West Ferris or Pete Pelangio, is that we need 12 acres of land to have a two-surface center. What this will do at that place, it will finally give change rooms and showers to all the Eau Michel sports fields. They've been waiting a long time for this. Eau Michel Sports Field was a project that was never finished. They ran out of money, and that's fine. They never finished, but it could have been maybe looked at a few years later.
52 million or 70 million for a dressing room?
Whoa.
I don't think so.
Excuse me, do I have the floor?
It's open.
It's open.
It will help to grow the city at that end of town. West Ferris right now needs the economic help. All the other areas are booming, so we need to help West Ferris.
West Ferris needs to be helped,
now,
but we can we look at West Ferris being helped, and Leslie brings a great point on that. You talk about that we need 12 acres for a double pad. Well, maybe we only can afford a single pad right now, and that would be probably the best location to make sure that the residents of West Ferris who need it and deserve it. At Eau Michel, quite frankly, it's closer to Callander than it is to most of the residents
for 10 years.
It's closer to Callander than it is to most of the residents in West Ferris, let alone the rest of the city. So when we take a look at that, and you talk about 10 years of inaction, well, the last 4 years, I haven't seen any action on this file. We've seen a design
I have done a lot.
We've seen a design that is not. Oh, I'm quite current on it, and I hear about it every day, and I hear about it at the doors. So I am quite current on it, and your recollection
your
is
concept
incorrect.
of adding another rink to Memorial Gardens. What would you do with West Ferris? Let it die?
I didn't say that.
No, you did say you would add.
I said we need that in order to attract. That's what I said.
We need
so
5.
let's make sure that we're clear on that. I said we need that at Memorial Gardens to attract. No, you made a comment to me, and so I'm going to address it. You said that is going. We need that other if we're going to attract those other events. But in the meantime, Eau Michel is not the location for that double pad. Michelle is not the correct solution. Can we afford it? That's the big thing
Okay.
right at this point in time.
If-
And I say no.
If you decide to change location, it's going to be another 4-year process of soil studies and going through that.
No, it's not.
And we do have an expiry date on this funding, this federal funding, which is one of the biggest fundings North Bay's ever received. So we can't shut the door on it yet. Let's receive the data in January and let's make a decision when we get the data.
Talk about expiry
When you're
dates.
talking about having only one rink, I can tell you from the MRF study that you probably commissioned because in 2012, because you were deputy chief.
No,
then?
council commissioned
Well,
it,
council commissioned it. It pointed out there, and these are 2012 numbers, that if you build one community center with one surface, it would have cost 21.6 million. But if you build one community center with 2 ice surfaces, it's only 26.5. So the efficiencies of operating,
or
of
50
building
million,
are
or
there.
70 million, or
I'm talking about
those numbers,
2012.
2012
Yes.
dollars by the MRF study, make no sense today.
No, but
There's
it
so
gives
many
you a
different
comparison
factors
of
today.
percentage, and you can tell how it's better to build at the same location with 2 than to have one over here and one over here.
Can we afford it? That's the big key.
Our
Can we
CFO
afford it?
has explained it to us in June, and she will, when the awarding of the contract comes, she will also do a
Well,
presentation.
just tell that to the taxpayers.
It's time to
Tell
go
that
to our
when they
next
increase it.
question. Thank you, candidates. This from a business owner in town who's concerned about North Bay's downtown.
Hi, I'm Mike Harrison, owner and operator of New Ontario Brewing Company. For those running for council and those running for mayor, in plain English, not speaking in political platitudes, what are you going to do to make downtown safe for our citizens and a good place to operate a business where people can invest and have confidence that their investment is going to be rewarded?
That's Mike Harrison with the question. Joanne, you're up first.
My platform, which consists of 3 pillars, one of them is the community well-being plan, and with the well-being, and we will, by bringing in and collaborating with all our social agencies, we are going to improve the downtown, the safety of our downtown and make it vibrant again. But with the help of innovative infrastructure that we know there's a project that's coming in and we're going to redo the roads and the sidewalks and the look downtown, that will also help. But we need to do those 2, not in isolation, but in a coordinated effort, that we need to revitalize downtown and at the same time also revitalize our social infrastructure.
Leslie.
I've been doing a lot of research with other cities in Canada to see how they're tackling their issues. And New Brunswick has this, this is an ongoing issue everywhere. It's not just us. New Brunswick has a policy in place where they have police officers. There's a whole group of people, police officers, social workers. They all go down and so for downtown, for instance, they would go and meet with these people downtown. Maybe some of them don't know what services North Bay has to offer. They would offer these services to them. They would try and get them the help that is needed. And it has helped in New Brunswick. They now only, as of last week, they had 3 members that were still hanging out in their downtown area in the doorways of the businesses.
Peter.
Certainly, and Mike talks about some of the issues about businesses downtown. The last 5 years, almost 6 years that I've been downtown with the Chamber of Commerce, I've seen it every day. I've seen it every day, and it has gotten worse. What we're doing right now is not working. We have to change what we're doing, and we have to focus on a plan that's going to help these people, that's going to change the way that we do those services. But the key in all of this is reimagining, as part of my platform, reimagining downtown. We have to do it right. And Councillor Brousseau talks about the $9.8 million that's going to be invested in town, and that's a great investment in downtown. But we have to make sure that we do it right. We have to make sure we do it right the first time, because that's the only time we're going to get for the next probably 25 to 30 years when the last one was done. So we have to make sure that we have to engage those business people, and we have to engage those landowners. And I've talked to many, many, many of them. Almost every landowner or property owner on Main Street I've talked to. And they say that right now they're restricted. It's too restricted. We have to open that up. We have to reimagine what we can do, and just remember that every time we expand outwards in our community, that we have to put in pipe. We have to maintain that pipe. We have existing infrastructure downtown. We have to go up and not out. And that's how we're going to reimagine. They're ready to invest in our community, and there's lots of investment coming into our community.
Floor's
But they
open
have to make sure
for
it's
a
done.
brief debate, so if you want to say something, jump right in.
Actually, we have been mandated by the provincial government to intensify our areas.
Absolutely.
And with the Growth Community Improvement Plan, we have started to see since 2019 all the storefronts change, and units being built upstairs, residential units. We're changing the look of downtown. We're trying to make it more vibrant. And also, staff did engage when they did this revitalization program. They did engage with the property owners and with the DIA, and all the it was a collective effort of what they wanted. It wasn't just there was consultants involved.
Listen, I sat on that committee, the downtown, the DLAC committee. I sat on that. And as a matter of fact, they had a meeting today on that very same subject. And takeaways from it, from each one of the meetings. After the meeting, property owners were saying they didn't listen to us in the first place. They didn't listen to what we had to say. And they brought back plans. It has, you know what, they're listening now. They are listening now because they know that it wasn't what the actual property owners wanted to do. And the other part, the restrictions. You know, they are intensifying, and congratulations and good work for the council, the last council that did that, to be able to intensify some of the residents. But they can't go up. They're limited by the strength. So we have to review that, and we have to say to ourselves, how can we make it better for them to intensify and make that downtown a people place?
I believe
and right now,
the official
we are not seeing it.
plan was revised, and I believe we can go up to 6 stories in our downtown area.
And the developers are saying that doesn't work. They're already at 4 floors and 5 floors. And in order for it to make it feasible, they have to go up even further. So I'm saying that we have to do a full review. And that's what I talk about. When I talk about doing a full review of city services, that includes our bylaws. Let's make sure that we're current with it, to make sure that other communities that are seeing the successes.
And 10 seconds,
Yes.
Peter.
We have probably one of the most beautiful downtowns and waterfronts, but it's not being utilized fully.
Quick comment, and then we're going to go to
I would
break.
just like to inform for Leslie that we do have a mobile crisis response unit in North Bay, and with this new medical officer professional coming into town, she's also collaborating with the health unit to have a mobile crisis to do checkups on all our residents.
Thank you, Joanne. We have reached break on this mayoral debate. More questions after this. Welcome back to YourTV's Your Vote North Bay mayoral debate. We have another question for the candidates. It reads as follows. One of the largest projects being undertaken in the coming years will be the redevelopment of Castleholm. With multiple municipalities involved as well as other levels of government, how involved will you be to ensure the citizens of North Bay receive a much-needed long-term care home that meets today's needs? Leslie, you have first chance to respond.
Okay. As a PSW, this is right in my wheelhouse. We have an aging population. As of 2023, there will be 3 million people in Ontario over the age of 65. We don't have room for them in our current long-term care facilities. So I will definitely be engaging with Castleholm to make sure that this is something that we can continue to build on. I'd like to see another one built. We need to do something to help our seniors.
Peter?
Seniors in our community are, they built this community, and we have to respect and we have to care for them in the best way possible. The redevelopment of Castleholm is an excellent project. We will have additional spaces in there for residents because of it. But one of the things that was held up, and it's taken far too long to get that into place over the past, and I can remember sitting as chair of Castleholm back in 2008, 2010. We had the project, the same project. It was here. There's been a lot of wrangling over the last 12 years that has not brought that project forward. And the increased costs that it has cost us since that day. The original budget on that project was under $30 million. That was the original project, and it's over $100 million today. The delays that took with the wrangling between trying to separate themselves from the agreement, trying to get them out this, who's going to own what, who's going to do that, cost the taxpayers money. And what it ultimately cost was those seniors that were sitting in alternative level of care beds in our hospital. We were sitting in their homes that didn't have the proper care. Canadore College has a new facility that is going to be built of 186 spaces for residents of our community. And we have to encourage that, and we have to participate in that. And we have to make sure that it is done timely and quickly, because it's not a wave that's coming, it's a tsunami that's coming, and we've known about it, but we haven't planned properly. We have to keep seniors in their homes more and more. And those are where those supports from those different agencies, from those different
5 seconds
that we have to do. So the redevelopment, it's great for our seniors. It's just taken way too long.
Thank you, Peter. Joanne?
Yes, I would just like to add, yes, it took forever. And when a few municipalities decided they don't want it in anymore, it kind of slowed it down. So I want to see a governance model looked at so that one municipality owns it and the other ones are clients to it. So that if there's any major decisions that need to be done, it's not going to slow it down for a few years. And we do have, in North Bay, we do have 2 other projects. We have the Sienna project and the Canadore College projects that we'll add. Seniors do deserve a good quality of life, even if that they're active or not, we need to take care of them. I do like the option, and my mother is, we had my father in a nursing home, and we chose not to put my mother in a nursing home, and she has been taken care at home. And she's very happy in that environment, and we will continue that until she's no longer with us.
The floor is open for debate on Castleholm.
On the Castleholm side of things and the delays in the project that took it, and correct me if I'm wrong, but Councillor Brousseau, I do believe that you voted against it a number of times about moving forward with the redevelopment when it was put on the table. And, listen, I understand that, there was a lot of moving parts to this, but the fact is it delayed this project. It delayed the reinvestment into that, and it cost us money. And that type of thing, whether the ownership, we need the ownership. I've heard discussions around the table that the city wants to take that on, that the city wants to take over the full ownership of this facility, which I think is absolutely ludicrous.
Joanne, Peter claims that you voted against this moving forward. Is that the case?
If there are reasons that I voted not to move forward for a specific item, it was information that was shared in camera that I can't share, but there were I was looking out for the
Did you vote against it, though?
I was looking out for the interest of the taxpayer of North Bay. Right now,
You
all the
haven't answered the question.
decisions,
Did you-
you
did
need
you
to
vote?
talk to Mr. Lowry or Councillor King or Councillor Main sat on that board. I did not. So they were privy to more information. I was just one of the maybe 70 councillors out of those 8 other municipalities, and all the information that was given to us was in camera.
But you didn't answer the question. Did you vote against it? It was in open public. Did you vote
I had
against
to
it?
vote against it because there was a
Then
logical
that's-
reason
You voted
because of the
against it.
information.
You voted against it, it delayed the project. That's what I'm talking about.
We're going to move on
Didn't
to
delay it by 8-10 years, that's for sure.
We're going to move on to another question. North Bay has one of the most beautiful waterfronts in the province. Would you be open to opening it up to more retail environments, food and beverage, more than that there currently are right now? And we're going to start with Peter.
The waterfront. And every day that I go to work down at the chamber, I take that drive down the waterfront because we have, without a doubt, one of the prettiest and most gorgeous waterfronts in all of Ontario, in all of the places that I've ever been. We have it right here. But what we don't have is we don't have something that keeps them down there. We don't have a permanent resident. I am in favor, and I am fully supportive of limited waterfront development. I am fully supportive of that. I would like to see a restaurant down there. I would like to see shops down there. Not that are just open for 3 months of the year. The boat and Steve Battanti and his crew, they do a tremendous job. But they have rain, they have shad flies. They have all of these factors that limit that season down. We don't have anything permanent that people can enjoy it 12 months of the year, not just 3 months of the year. So I'm in favor of it. And I stole this idea from Steve Drini from Tourism North Bay, and I'm going to be very honest with it, I stole it from him. Why don't we have 12 sea containers sitting in front of the carousel, the parking lot in front of there, with roll-up doors for business people, for our community, to actually sell their wares. If they want to rent it for a day, maybe $10, something nominal, to encourage people to shop downtown. And it could be our shopkeepers from downtown that are utilizing these services and being able to do it. The way it is right now is we go down there, in September, you want to find a bottle of water, you got to walk back downtown. That's not right. I know that they are moving to, and Rich Stivrins from the chief, and he's done a great job. And they're going to open a permanent residence or in one of the washrooms on that. But I think we have to do so much more. We can expand our downtown into our waterfront and utilize it as a community.
Thank you, Peter. Joanne.
And actually in our downtown waterfront improvement plan, that has been mentioned. And yes, I control growth, and I am for that. We do have a nice walking area. I love watching the flowers. But yes, it would be nice to sit at one end and have a coffee or sit at the other. With those roll-up, with the cargoes, containers, Cornwall does that, and it's very successful. So yes, I'd be all for that.
Leslie, would you be in favor of development at the waterfront, perhaps retail or as well as residential?
I would be okay with retail as long as it doesn't take away from the beauty of the waterfront. I do really like that idea with the shops from downtown being able to showcase, or just anybody being able to rent it for a weekend or something and show what they have. And restaurants, I think a restaurant would be a really good idea down there. I just don't want it to take away from the beauty.
The land around our waterfront and
Peter, sorry to interrupt. This is open debate, so you're welcome to continue. The floor is open.
the land around our waterfront is, and if you look at other communities, it's probably the most valuable property there is in any community. And so when we talk about residential development and fast tracking some residential development into there to make it a people place, not only just for the waterfront, but for the downtown. And I'm talking on the outskirts of the waterfront. I'm not talking about high intensity development down on the waterfront. I'm talking about some of the surplus lands that we need. Listen, council has done a tremendous job of including with the basketball courts, the skate park that's coming, all of those things. Those are terrific additions to that. But we need people downtown as well. And so I say we have to intensify grow up and not out. We have to make sure that when we look at our business community, to put those investments in there, that it's going to be realized. And that is what I pledge to do, that we will look at that. We will still preserve what we have, because we have one of the most beautiful downtowns and waterfronts in this country. And so preserving that and making sure that we do that is the way that we do it.
There is already, we're working on that. With the waterfront downtown plan, we're going to extend Wild Street, and Wild Street will have buildings. We've been talking with some residents to see input on them, but there's talk of 3 big buildings almost the size of City Hall, so we can make them what we want them to be. Will they be condos? Will they be library and other floors and other? But yes, we need to revive, and we need to have a vibrant downtown and waterfront, and I'm all for that.
Unfortunately, we've reached the end of the question and answer and debate portion. We have reached the conclusion of this mayoral debate, but before we conclude, we're going to have closing remarks, and this time we're going in reverse podium order. So we'll start with closing remarks from candidate Peter Chirico.
And thank you, Clarke and Cogeco YourTV, for hosting us tonight. It allows us all to put forward our ideas. And Councillor Brousseau and Leslie, it was my pleasure once again to share this venue with you. For those watching, I just want to remind you I have 7 key areas in my platform, and they affect each and every one of us. Some of what I propose is ambitious, and I'm well aware of the change we need will not happen overnight or even in one term of council. But we need to lay the groundwork now. And if we want that community that we all deserve, that's what we have to do. And it starts with a plan and setting of priorities. Over the years, I've worked with hundreds of concerned citizens on dozens of boards and committees, all with a view to making things better. And we have done so by, number 1, determining the issues, isolating the problems, creating a plan, and finding the resources, and then getting the work done. Because of these experiences, I know firsthand that when we come together behind a strong leader with a clear vision and a solid plan, well, everything is possible. We've taken enough time studying the issues and talking amongst ourselves. It's time for action. It's time for solutions. It's time to take the serious issues that we all face and the problems that we have and do something about them. I want to reimagine, reinvent, and be part of the revitalization of our downtown. I want to plan all development and growth with a carbon neutral and net zero approach to sustainability and a green future for this city. I want to review all operations, services, and municipal staffing in an open and transparent manner. I want to and will restore pride in our city, neighborhood by neighborhood. It's time to run the city based on what we need and what we can afford. On October 24th, I ask you respectfully, put your X beside my name. I won't let you down, and I'm ready for the job. Thank you.
Leslie McVeety, it's time for your closing remarks, up to 3 minutes.
I just wanted to thank everyone for watching tonight, for your questions, for hosting, and for Joanne and Peter for the fun evening it's been. As we all know, I don't have political experience, but maybe that's a good thing. Maybe that's what we need right now. I'm running for you, the residents of North Bay. As a personal support worker, I have spent the last 6 years advocating for my patients, and now it's time to advocate for you, the community of North Bay. I want things to change just as much as you do. It's not going to happen overnight, and it will take some work, but if we work together, these changes can happen. People shouldn't have to choose between having a roof over their head or food on their table. We need to put an end to unnecessary spending so we don't see any more massive tax hikes. We need less talk and more action. Like always, if you have any concerns that you would like me to look into, don't hesitate to contact me at McVeety for Mayor on Facebook. If I don't have the immediate answer, I'll look into it. We can look into it together and maybe come up with a solution together. If you want to see the changes that will bring North Bay back to the safe and beautiful place it once was, get out there and vote on October 24th. And I ask for your support in voting McVeety for Mayor.
Thank you, Leslie. And Last, for the closing remarks, Johanne Brousseau.
My campaign platform is based on the issues North Bay taxpayers noted as being important to our community. Through collaborative community discussion, my priorities as the Mayor of North Bay will focus on community well-being, innovative infrastructure, and economic prosperity. Ma plateforme provient d'une approche communautaire collaborative, le bien-être communautaire, une infrastructure innovante, et une prospérité économique. Throughout this campaign, one of my opponents stated that our city is broken and has presented recommendations that are inadequate for our growing community. His recommendations simply don't make sense and can only be implemented by continuing to raise taxes. His initiatives, such as relocating city staff from the City Hall main floor, is simply an irresponsible waste on taxpayers' money. He refers to a survey that indicates that we are the most secretive city in Canada, yet he says nothing about North Bay being named as one of the top 20 communities in Canada to invest. Another positive praise for our city is that North Bay was ranked number 2 in Canada to buy real estate. This community has a lot to be proud of. Mr. Chirico demonstrated his true commitment to our City Council, where he quit his elected position as Deputy Mayor to accept a 6-figure position at the city, with the city as a Director of Community Service, foregoing his commitment to the taxpayers who put them there, trust in him, and demeaning the opportunity for better qualified city employees to apply for the job. Mr. Chirico feels that there's a lack of transparency at City Hall, yet the renovations to Memorial Gardens, for which his department was responsible, community still says it lacked transparency. Transparency, communication, relationship building, long-term planning are all areas that we can improve on. I am committed as your mayor to address these issues. Our community members work very hard to create the growth of the quality of life we enjoy today. As your mayor, my goal is to build on my current success and work with your community stakeholders to create and grow new successes for North Bay. Je représente un leadership efficace, un leadership qui reconnaît le défi, sait où et comment trouver les solutions et qui est prêt à écouter, s'engager et répondre pour les meilleures solutions. I represent effective leadership, a leadership that recognizes challenges, is ready to listen, engage, and respond in order to come up with the best solutions for North Bay. Many say our city needs a new direction. I have experience that counts, new and fresh approach, and I am ready to be your next mayor. So on October 24th, vote for new, and vote for Johanne Brousseau.
Thank you. To conclude, we're going to go back to Leslie and then around once more. How are you planning to connect with the voter leading up to Monday, October 24th, when voters will cast their ballots? 30 seconds or less.
I'm still planning on doing some door-to-door. People have been reaching out to me, like the homeless advocate. We spent about an hour together going over things. I just want to find out what the concerns are of the community so we can work together to fix those wrongs.
Peter, you mentioned knocking on doors. How else will you be connecting with the voter leading up to Election Day?
We're going to continue to connect with the electorate by the knocking on doors, by meeting with all of our taxpayers, not just individuals at the doors, but through the groups that we work with. I will continue the conversation that I've had with the business community over the last 6 years, and we will continue to engage them over the next 26 days that we will be finishing off this election. But the knocking on doors and hearing of the issues, and a lot of the issues are the same ones that I pointed out. My platform addresses it, peterchirico.ca. Please go to it. Please take a look at it. It provides those explanations on how we're going to make this city a better place.
And Johanne?
We will continue to knock on doors. We probably have 3/4 of North Bay that we have knocked on so far. We are visiting nursing homes. We answer all the questions on email, and we respond to all emails. I'm very proud of all my team of volunteers, and I'd like to point out, shop local. 100% of all my election dollars have been spent in North Bay. That I'm very proud of.
And how important is social media, Leslie?
Social media to me is the main thing because I work shift work and I don't have as much time to go out door to door. So I am trying really hard to connect with everybody through social media.
Peter?
Social media, listen, it elects governments, it topples governments. Social media is a tool. It's a tool that we use to relay the information that's important to us. And that's why it's important for social media to look at peterchirico.ca, to take a look at what my platform lays out, to see what my vision is for the next 4 years and possibly the next 20 years as our city matures. We talk about shop local, you know, and how we do that. Let's just remember that shop local was started by the Chamber of Commerce. And we've done it, and we've done it successfully. And we will continue to shop local.
And Joanne, social media for your campaign, how important is that?
It is very important. I have a lot of youth in my, and they plan it all, and I trust them. Speaking of shop local, I also, since COVID, North Bay Proud Shop Local, it is made to support and add more revenues to existing businesses. And I'm proud that I've been administrating that, and we have 5,500 followers.
Joanne, Leslie, and Peter, thank you so much for the healthy debate, and thanks for joining us this evening at the YourTV studio. We appreciate the viewer tuning in and becoming educated for a very important decision coming up on Monday, October 24th. We thank you for tuning in to YourTV's Your Vote, and please do not forget to vote on Monday, October 24th. For the YourTV crew, volunteers, and everyone involved in this production, we wish you a pleasant evening, and we wish you